Hey everybody, it's Jim of Animateducated. Today you're going to meet Dino Crisanti. I've had Dino on the show before. This year he got leukemia. And during this time, knowing Dino, he doesn't like to sit still for very long. He always is working on something. And he decided to take the time to actually make a film about his experience. And so here's my interview with Dino Crisanti.
About a year ago, a bunch of a bunch of health problems started happening, and like I had a torn rotator cuff and all this other stuff. But in getting hurt, they discovered that I had leukemia. I had AML. So thankfully, I got hurt, and one of my doctors noticed my blood was kind of acting up, and so last March 17th, when I got the final diagnosis, and or 16th, and then the 17th I went into the hospital for the first time, and that was right in the middle of a semester. So I was teaching 3 classes at the time.
Ooh.
So instead of abandoning my students, I said, you know what, I'll teach remotely from the hospital, and that's when I got my first chemo. And I was hooked up to a bunch of tubes, and I had 2 students, Elijah Tan and Mena Servin. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing their last name, but they were my hands. They were there with the students, so they were there at every class. And whenever anybody like couldn't understand what I was talking about, even though I had videos and programs showing them how to do everything, they kind of tipped the scale into making it possible to actually teach. So I'm there. I've got tubes hooked up, getting chemotherapy, and I'm teaching 3 classes. And it was really good because it really kind of filled the time up, because I was there for like 15 days. So I knew I was coming back to the hospital, and I was laying in bed trying to figure out what I'm going to do next time because I won't be teaching. So I said, you know what, I have to fight this battle in my head, just to kind of cathartically figure out what's going on with me being sick. And so I just sat there and I wrote a film. And I decided that I'm going to shoot the film in the hospital the next time I come in. And it's the absolute worst environment ever to shoot a stop motion film. And I know it sounded crazy when I decided to do it. But again, I had to do something. And you can only, read so much and listen to so many podcasts and stuff like that. And then that kind of wears off and gets dull really fast. So when I finally got home, I made some puppets and just got everything I needed and packed it into a piece of luggage like this big.
Mm.
And decided that when I get back there, that's when I'll start shooting.
Did you have to talk to the hospital to say, hey, I want to shoot something, or you just?
I waited to ask forgiveness before I asked permission.
Oh, okay.
But the cool thing about it was that this staff was so interested, and like I had nurses coming from other wards coming in to visit and watch what's going on. And the funny thing is that people would come in, and not a lot of them in the beginning knew about stop motion, so they see these weird dolls sitting on a table, and they're like, is this guy lost it already? He's playing with dolls. There's an effigy of himself there. It's like, what's going on here? So I felt like I was teaching a class because every time somebody came in, I had to explain it and show footage. And so they would come and watch dailies because they were so interested in it. And they were just happy to see somebody who was out of bed and doing something and not laying there watching TV and kind of rotting. Going through cancer treatment, a lot of it is like keeping a positive attitude. And because I had all these plans and I had all these things I needed to do afterwards, it just made the doctors and the nurses kind of smile because it's very different in some of the other rooms. But nobody ever told me to stop. I even changed the lighting in the room. But this is my character, and the pants here are the socks that they hand out to you when you get to the hospital because they don't want you slipping and falling. And there's this
Right.
stuff on here. And then on the arm right here is this mesh piece. And I used to have this thing called a pick line that was right here with the tubes coming out that they gave you the medicine for the first time I was there. So I used a piece of that and uh, mimicked the fact that that's where I was getting my medicine. And at the time when you go through this, like I said, I was a very hairy guy, and but you soon realized that you were going to lose your hair, so we shaved it off. I held on to my beard for a while because I didn't want that transition from being very hairy to having no facial hair for my family. I held on to it for a while, but when I got back, I took a shower and I kind of just randomly scrubbed my face, and my beard came off in my hand. It was like it came off as one piece. It was just the most bizarre thing that
Wow.
ever. So there's so many bizarre things that happen to you physically, the changes you go through. But I said, you know what, I'm going to represent myself, so I could just kind of show this nice expression. And it's a foam carved puppet, and there's a nice armature in there, and there's some tie downs, and then like I said, the eyes, and now the eyebrows are soft clay, and the mouth's a replacement.
When you were making the idea, did you just kind of rough out some idea? Well, maybe I have this or that, or did you have a complete story, or?
I didn't have the whole thing complete. Like I wasn't sure about the ending. I didn't want to make it serious. This film was more about putting a positive spin on it, taking control of the disease and basically, kicking its backside. And Leuk is like you said, he's kind of this stark sort of dandy of a character who doesn't feel like he's doing anything wrong, but obviously he's the bad guy. And some of those lumens that they call them are these tubes, and that's not real blood, that's just paint that I put in there. But that became his hair. So all these things at one point were connected to me with medicine going in and out. And he's got a replacement mouth. So you can see his mouths come off. I made about half a dozen of these. And his eyebrows are clay, so I could change expression. And then his outfit is made out of medical tape. I grabbed some medical tape from the hospital, realized, wow, this stuff is really great. It sticks to itself. So I bought a range of colors and built the character using it. Some of it's from the hospital itself, and some of it's from me sourcing it. And then he's really tall and lanky. You can see the difference between him, because I kind of wanted him looming over me, because that's what it kind of felt like in the beginning. There's just like this emotional weight on you before everybody starts kicking in and giving you support and all that sort of stuff. It's very daunting, but eventually you kind of accept it, and people are there for you. And so I just laid there and tried to think about what this character looked like. And when I got home, I started making them, which was, I love making puppets, and they were done for a long time before I went back to the hospital. So it was a journey just waiting to start this thing. Can I do this emotional interaction between two characters? Because I teach stop motion, but I don't get an opportunity to do a lot of it, So that was a big challenge, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, but that's why I did one of the reshoots, because I felt like I rushed myself, and I couldn't focus because it was near the end of my time there, and I just didn't have the energy to reshoot, and I was losing focus, So when I got home, I started feeling a little better. I just did those reshoots, which I'm so glad I did. It was the ones I did in the hospital were like a practice run for those last 3 shots, and then I did it in a very refined. I shot for like 12 hours at one point, which I shouldn't have been doing. I should have been resting, but I did it anyway. And so it was. I was so happy to complete it and start sending it around, because it was one of my goals.
Well, yeah, I want to thank you for coming on Animateducated and sharing your experience and all that with us. And
Pleasure. Thank you for taking the time out. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful holiday.
yeah, you too. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Dino Crisanti, good friend of mine from Chicago. We went to school together at Columbia College back in the 80s. And it's good to see him again. And I'm glad everything's working out for him and his family. So if you'd like to check out his YouTube channel, I'll put a link below, as well as his GoFundMe campaign if you're interested in helping him out. Yeah, if you enjoyed this interview in any way, you can press that button right there to subscribe. I've got other videos here coming up this year. We'll see you next time on Animated Educated.